Okay, it is Sunday, January 31st, 2021, and this is my market outlook for this week. You can see here we have the SPY. We've been in a uptrend, and recently last week broke the uptrend and has sort of transitioned into a correction phase in the market. Now, I think that we are most likely to go down and tag previous support or previous levels that are acting as support, probably around here, 357.97 level. I don't think this is a crash, although there is a possibility that that is what's happening here. The probability, I think, is that it is a normal market correction. The one thing that makes me think that this is most likely to be a crash is that we popped above this long-term trend line, and the last time we did that, we had a major market correction. So looking at the triple Qs, this index is a little bit more bullish than the SPY right now. We have gone down and basically settled on this midterm trend line. So we haven't had a full breakdown on the triple Qs yet. If we do have that breakdown, I expect it to come down to around this 297 level before continuing up again, or before consolidating for a while and continuing up, just like we did here, back here. The Russell 2000, or IWM, this is pretty much a guaranteed breakdown. And a lot of the stocks, a lot of the smaller cap stocks, I'm not sure if they were all in the IWM, but there are a lot of small cap stocks that have kind of turned into mid cap stocks since March, and I think they're very overheated. So we're going to have, I expect, a pretty good sized correction in the IWM. Maybe we go down here to this $201 level. If we don't stop there, then we could come down here just a little bit lower, 197.40, and if that doesn't act as support, we're probably going to see $170 before this thing turns around. Looking at the DXY, we have what looks like maybe a breakout of this falling wedge that has been forming since, well, really since March. Now there was two patterns that we were looking at, actually maybe three. So one was this, which we broke out of clearly. The other was this between, I guess basically these two channels, or between this channel, we're broken out of it. So right now we're looking at this breakout right here. Is that a confirmed breakout, or is this going to be a false breakout? My suspicion is that I suspect it's going to be a false breakout. I don't think if it is not a false breakout, then maybe we'll hit this level around $92. That is a fairly likely scenario where we hit $92, then turn around and go down in the dollar again. There's some things in the market that still, or on the indices, that still don't look too bearish. Looking at the TLT, we are still in that sort of downtrend, although the question is, you've got this sort of, down phase here. Is this a island bottom where we jump up and reverse and break out here? I don't think that's very likely, mostly because on the RSI we've got a lower low here. So we don't have negative divergence on the RSI yet. This could be a sort of surprise thing where it jumps up. But if it does jump up significantly, the market's going to be jumping down at the same time. I kind of think we're going to move up here, retag this trend line, and then continue down again. As far as where is this going, if it continues down, I guess our next support level is at this $147 area. Let's also look at the US 10-year bond. And for some reason, well, I think it's the way the 10-year bond is calculated. It works best with the log scale off. All right. So something like this. So we've been in this downtrend since, well, almost since this index started. Interest rates going down, but the past few weeks we've been in a slow up creep. So maybe we'll see this reach the top, tag this, and then go back down again. I think what the expectation is, if interest rates go too high, the market will have a major correction or crash. So this should turn around soon if you want to keep sort of a bullish thesis on the market. My thesis is that we're going to crash eventually. I am thinking it is not super likely that we crash soon, but there's a lot of events that have happened recently that kind of cast doubt in my mind about my longer term time frame. Maybe we will crash sooner than expected, or maybe all of the stuff with the Wall Street bets and putting basically hedge funds under pressure, maybe it won't be as big of an issue as expected. If this is a downturn that's caused by that whole thing, then it may not be that large of a downtrend if they're able to, say, bail out those hedge funds, and or if only, say, one of them goes bankrupt. But the system is very fragile. It could easily cause a cascade effect or a domino effect that sort of brings the whole system down. Now, what's interesting is if you look at gold, it doesn't look very bullish right now. We're still in the downtrend. We're still within this range. And I think we're likely to maybe close a day up at this trend line and then turn around and take another downturn in gold. Silver is another picture, or a different picture. You can see basically there's major resistance right around this area. So today, silver has broken out of this falling, or this sort of funnel pattern, but it's not very strong funnel pattern. I mean, we got 1, 2, 3 reaction points. So it's a breakout for now. But whether that breakout succeeds or not, I think depends very much on whether we move over this, $28.30 to $28.50 level. If we do break above, then yeah, we're going to see a very nice run on gold, or on silver, I think. Possibly seeing a move around 50%. That would put us, okay, maybe not 50%. Let's say we move roughly this range. Yeah, I guess that's 50%. Okay, so if we move up 50% from the $27.30 level, that puts us up at about $40 silver. So that's going to be a nice move. That's going to drive all of the silver miners up. And I wonder if that would cause kind of a chain effect and pull gold up with it and the gold miners. So this is a big thing to watch. I may trade AGQ, which is either double or triple leveraged silver ETF. And basically it would look like what I showed. You have the breakout here, so maybe an entry point here. Move your profit target up there, and maybe your exit point here. Now, I guess the question is, when would you make the entry? This could get rejected here, go back and do a back test, and run up to the profit target. So maybe it would look something like we do, half position if we close the day above, and then if we do a retest, do a full position, or if we continue moving up, kind of transition that into a full position and move the stop up. Something like that is what I'm looking at for a trade. Another thing I wanted to show is some of these cryptocurrencies that are on the move. I guess let's start with Bitcoin. Yeah, I guess Bitstamp is fine. Okay, so Bitcoin looks like to me that it's in a consolidation, a sort of bull flag consolidation pattern, and it started the breakout, kind of failed, and I think it's going back to do a retest. We're going to see probably within the next day whether it's a retest and it bounces up. If we move down to the hourly chart, you can see it's very close to that trend line. It's sort of hugging it. So I think right now is a good entry point to get into Bitcoin. And then you can set a stop, probably down here. My entry point was right around here. And I'll kind of have a stop out point right around the $3,200 level. If it reaches that level, I'll think about stopping out. Probably the $3,100 level is my definite stop out level. If it starts closing hourly below that, then that's a false breakout, and it may be likely to move lower, which was, at least initially when it failed here, it looked very overheated. And when it dropped here, it looked to me like it was going to consolidate and fall lower. But instead, it reversed and went a little higher, making what looks like a falling wedge breakout pattern. So we have yet to see on Bitcoin what it's going to do. Ethereum. Now this has been consolidating, but in a sort of rising pattern. If we go to the 4-hour, which I think is easier to look at least for Ethereum right now, you can see we're in this range bound between these channel, and we're moving down. Now, what I don't like about this chart, I was thinking about trading it, but here's what I don't like about this chart is we have basically negative divergence on this chart. On the daily chart, I think it's more obvious negative divergence. Yes, it is. So it's very, very significant negative divergence. Higher highs, but lower highs, or higher highs on the price, lower highs on the divergence, or on the RSI. My original plan was to go long on this right here at this $12.30 level, right about when it tags this lower trend line, and then either hold it till it breaks out or hold it till it hits this channel. So I think I'm going to hold off on that. Maybe I'll trade it. Maybe I'll go long if it breaks out above this. But this is not, in general, a bullish pattern. And now I'm just seeing this right now. We may be we may be looking at something like this where, let's get rid of this. Yeah, I'm not seeing it yet. Maybe this is a valid upper level for a wedge pattern, but, or sorry, a funnel pattern. Yeah, that's probably not very meaningful. So I'm going to leave Ethereum for now. This Doge or Doge USD, this has been a very interesting one because it's been the target of a Wall Street Bets pump, basically. And if you go in the 15-minute chart, this is like the fastest bull market in history right here. If you purchased in around this level, seeing basically a consolidation, I'm not sure exactly how the consolidation looks. Probably you have to go to the minute chart. And then, yeah, let me just stick to the 15-minute chart and go to what I saw afterwards. So this has had a big run up, and then it basically has had a big consolidation, something like this, looking pretty like it could still be bullish, but then it broke down. And so you can rechart it. Let's go to the hourly. Oh, here's why it looks so weird. Yeah, it's a lot easier to look at on the hourly or on the log chart. But anyways, you've got something like this where you have a falling wedge chart. It breaks out, consolidates, and then continues the breakout. And right now, it looks like it's consolidating into a smaller bull flag. So if this breaks above this level, around this 40-cent level, then it's a trade that could give some pretty big gains. You can see this stock or this crypto has moved up. I mean, since January 28th, it's moved up 470% to its highs. So if it makes another move similar to that, that's a good trade that could play out over a couple hours. But that is that. So moving on to the stocks I'm looking at trading this week, I am looking at taking mostly long trades on gold and silver and managing the trades that I already have short. But I also have this watch list is the tickers I'm really going to focus on this week. So this may be a long trade. I'm hesitant to take it. If the market turns around at a support level that I haven't seen yet, I may take this trade. Basically, we have a kind of a bull flag pattern. And if it breaks out above this, then I'm looking at taking a long trade. And you can see we've had lower lows, well, at least one lower low with positive or with bullish divergence on the RSI. And we're at level here where we may have a potential breakout soon. AYX, this is a ticker that it looks like it's in sort of a funnel pattern where it's consolidating. If it breaks out to the upside, which it looks like it may be doing right now, then take a long position right around this $131 level, all the way up to $250 level. It's a very high percentage gain, a very good risk to reward ratio. So, of course, the issue with this one is that If the market continues in a downtrend, this may have a false breakout. I think at this point, though, it will wait for a while to break out until the market finishes a downtrend, and that's when it breaks out, and that's when you take the long trade. DDOG, this is basically the same pattern formation where you have a funnel and a potential breakout soon. If it breaks out, that's likely going to be when the market downturn finishes, and it will be set up for a long trade. Lemonade. This one is one I may take a position in if it does another retest, or if it does a retest. It's sort of an indecisive with its initial breakdown. It broke down, started the day, gapped down, and then ended the day basically above trend. The next day it broke down, and I don't expect it to do a full backtest, but if it does, I think that's where you would want to take this trade. I don't really like the risk to reward ratio down here so much, especially considering if we have another big red day tomorrow. It'll start probably down here, and that's not where I would want to take the trade. I guess one thing that may work as a trade is if it take it down here and call this support your sort of level where you would want to exit the trade. But even still, you can see the risk to reward ratio isn't great for the intraday volatility. So we're going to keep that trade as a backtest trade. Peloton, this is a trade that I will take. Basically, if this stock closes daily below this support level at 144.69, take a short trade down to around this level at $99 to $100. This stock is super overheated. That was like a 70% up move from the previous level of support, really. And this may act as some support, but I don't expect it to, especially since if it breaks down below this level of support is barely below, so I don't expect it to stay above that level for very long. Okay, Revolve. This is a trade that I've been watching, or a ticker I've been watching. It continues to look bearish. If this market downtrend continues, then I expect it to break down with the market, and that's probably where I take a position, is if it closes daily below this chart, or impulsively hourly closes below this trend line. Snap, this is a ticker that looks like it's just about ready to roll over. It's done a bunch of retests of this level, has the negative divergence with higher highs and lower highs on the price, lower highs on the RSA. So if it breaks down below here during this downtrend, then I think I'll take the short. If it doesn't during this downtrend and it still breaks down, I'll have to reconsider taking that short. But it's got a very high risk to reward ratio, a nice percentage gain potential. So as of now, I like this trade if it breaks down. Sono, it looks like it's breaking down, so if we get a continued breakdown, I'll probably enter maybe somewhere around here. It may still do a back test. That's also an entry point that I would like. Upwork, this is a potential short trade that hasn't begun to play out yet. There's, I guess, two possible trend lines to look at. This may be a second one. So we'll see. I think I'll take the trade if it closes below this trend line. Although it is not. Okay, I guess it's kind of a confirmed trend because you've got 3 reaction points. It's not the strongest, though. But if this price action does break down below this trend line, I do think it's a good short down to here. I don't love it because it's not a super high risk to reward ratio, but it will be one to consider. Zoom, this looks like a bull flag where it's a falling wedge, initial breakout, and consolidation with a smaller bull flag. And so if it breaks out to the upside, I think that's going to be a good long trade to one of these two profit targets, 572 or 837. I think the market's going to be very bullish for that to happen, but I think it's a possibility, especially if this doesn't break down during this market correction. If it holds, then that's probably going to put a lot of upward pressure for a nice breakout on this stock. Billy, this is another short trade that looks to be playing out just now. I think now would be a good entry point if it doesn't jump down too much at the market open tomorrow. So it may be good to put a stop limit order on this as a short trade to trade down to this level. Amazon, I don't think I'm going to be trading this, but it is something to watch. Well, it's been in this funnel pattern. It's had how much time to consolidate? A little over 6 months to consolidate. So I think it's going to have a nice move up if it breaks out to the upside. It's probably going to wait until the market consolidation is done, maybe move to the bottom of this level. Let's just get rid of these. Okay, so move to the bottom of this level, move up, maybe move back a little bit, and then break out. That's my expectation. And with most of these funnel type breakouts, what am I looking for? Just polyline. Okay, so with most of these breakouts, you have something where it moves up a little bit, pulls back, and then it has its full move. And we've seen those all over the place before. Okay, Solo. This is a possible long trade. I'm not sure. I think if you miss this entry point, then the second entry point would be if this does a back test and continues upward. I think I would only take this trade if it looks like the market downturn is over. AG, that's First Majestic Silver. This could be a really good weekly trade because you can see this has been in a very clear funnel pattern since 2008. So it's just had a ton of time to consolidate. And this week it's had, a breakout. So if you go do a weekly chart trade, probably within the next couple of years, you can have, anywhere between 1,000 and 2,500%. Let's say you do your entry point here, make it a 1,000% move. Even with a not such a great entry point, you've still got just a crazy risk to reward ratio on this. So maybe you do a normal position size. That's a pretty good profit for that amount of time. Maybe it'll play out over a year or two. Okay. So Franco-Nevada, this is one you could probably do on the daily or weekly. I'm going to switch to the daily chart. So what do we have here? We have what I see is a falling wedge or a bear pattern or a bear flag pattern, and we begin. Well, if this does not continue lower and break through this divergence, then that tells me we're beginning to have bullish divergence on this chart. And if it breaks to the upside, I think that will be a point where it's a good area to enter the trade long for basically a 20-ish% gain and a good risk to reward ratio. GAU, this is another gold miner. Well, Franco-Nevada, I think, is a gold streaming company, but GAU, I believe, is a gold miner. But you've got this trend, this clear trend, and support at the lower side of this. Now, there's no... Well, there is actually... Is there? There's almost bullish divergence. Not quite. We almost made a lower low here, but there's much higher momentum now than there was back here. So this may be a long trade if this breaks out. GDX, this is the large cap gold miners index, and sort of the same pattern. We've had the same pattern as Franco-Nevada is what this is, but multi-month consolidation, not quite bullish divergence yet, although it's very close if you compare these two levels. If it breaks out, it should have a nice up move. Now, one thing to be cautious about is these metals miners have been consolidating for so long that it might be at the point where let's go to the 200 EMA. So the 200-day moving average, we're below that. So probably if it breaks out, we want to see it above the 200-day moving average before the trade is taken. So something like this. That brings our risk to reward ratio down a bit, but it should still be a good trade if it breaks above that. GDXJ, same thing. If it breaks out above this level, that's a potential trade. And you can see it's actually not really respecting the 200 moving average very well. You know, we jumped above, we jumped below. If we stay below this 200 moving average, then that's probably bullish on the metal miners. So this is something where maybe the expectation is for it to be bearish, but if it is bullish, then that may be a surprise and stop a bunch of people out of their shorts and be a good long trade. GFI, we've had a basically bull flag pattern, multiple reactions along this trend line. So if it breaks above, then that's probably a long trade to take. Gold, Barrick Gold. This is just another one where it looks like it may have been consolidating in this bull flag pattern, and it had a breakout, and then it retested the trend line, and now it looks like it may be off to the races for this one. So if we can catch an entry point, below this level, below this 2284 level, that should be a good long trade, as long as the rest of the metals remains intact. GSS, sort of a similar bull flag pattern. We don't have bullish divergence, but we have this where we basically made a double bottom. The second bottom was much higher RSI value, so this may be a bullish trade. IM Gold, this looks like it did break out and now it's doing a back test. Yeah, it looks like it broke out, false breakout, second breakout, so maybe it's doing a back test. Let's get rid of this. So this may be a good trade to enter on Monday, looking for this target around 484. But this could also be a false breakout, and I mean this line is too close here to tell. So I would want to be looking for a little bit more upside, maybe make the trade insurance a little higher, like up here, so that you know there's bullish momentum going into the trade before you take the trade. Kinross Gold. This equity is at the bottom of the chart, but if it goes to the top and breaks out, then that's probably a good trade. Kirkland Lakes. Well, what do we have here? We may have bullish divergence if this is if this is a bottom, then we won't have bullish divergence. It's just another one of those double bottoms where the second bottom has higher momentum. So that may or may not mean this is a bullish trade ready to happen, a breakout ready to happen. Royal Gold. Now this one had a false breakout on Friday, but you can see this bullish sort of falling wedge, and we have absolutely had positive divergence on this one. So this one looks quite bullish compared to the other miners. And so it may be good for a trade, 24, 25% upside trade with a high risk to reward ratio. Sand. This one also has bullish divergence. So I'd be looking for a long trade coming out of this bull flag. It is under the 200 moving average, but like I said before, I don't know how much this 200 moving average is really respected by these stocks. It looks like back here during this bull market it was respected, but after that, not really. So I'm not sure about that one. I don't think I'm going to base my trades based off of this 200 moving average, but it may be an issue. SIL. This is the one silver miner that I found that hasn't broken out yet. Most of the others have. And so if it does break out and the silver rally continues, this is probably one of the highest probability trades to play out with that it still has a good entry point. AGQ. This is the the leveraged silver ETF I was talking about trading earlier. You can see it's probably going to have over 100% move if this breakout is sustained. So, great entry point, or great potential for getting a good entry point and high percentage movement without tying up a lot of capital. SVM, Silver Corp Metals. This is another, I think this is a silver miner. It might be more of a gold miner, but it hasn't broken out yet, so at that break, it's probably a good trade to take. And, the risk to reward ratio is pretty high. Although, a difference here is I've measured, maybe I should measure this from here, so 80%. Let's just move this down to like 70%. So that's a more risk to reward ratio that's more in line with the other miners that I've looked at. VGZ looks like this is breaking out, and we're going to have a nice big move with a decent risk to reward ratio if we get an entrance around this level. So a lot of this depends on what the gold and silver prices look this week. Gold and silver are kind of hard to trade, so maybe I will stick to smaller positions if I trade these, or maybe I'll stick to normal side positions just because the risk to reward ratio is so good for them. And so yeah, those are the stocks I'm looking at trading this week. I am probably going to sit on the sidelines unless I see a really good, unless I see the best trading opportunities play out. I kind of want to take a little bit of a break from entering new positions in order to, well, watch the positions that are already open and close them. So maybe I'll probably focus mostly on taking long positions on the gold and silver miners if they break out. So that is the basically it for this video. We'll do a recap on Friday or Saturday.